Peace, family. Peace, peace, peace. Hey, this your brother, Son Ray 9 coming in the house. Just coming in the house momentarily here. Just want to let's share a little something, little information. Just give a thought about something. Basically, it was a question. Because I'm sitting out here just studying. Got a couple of books that I'm just sitting back reading. Man, this is a great book right here. Voices of the Ancestors, African Myth. Just it was actually a book from Time Life magazines. They had a lot of different books, just dealing with a lot of different cultures and stuff. But this one here is about the voices of the ancestors, the African myth. Just going in, man. This book is great. You start out talking about the cradle of humankind. Let me see if I share some of this table of content. Then I get into my question. Let me see, can I share some? I don't know if I can share the title. Hell, I can't see myself. But it just table content. But hell, I don't know. I can't share it. But it goes into the old tales of the sand people, the ancestors of humankind. And it goes into the cradle of civilization. And, a lot of ancient myths. This is what Time Life magazine book is about. And then here's another one right fast, family. The history of West Africa. Let me see. There you go. History of West Africa. It's a great book. Just trying to get into it and read it. But my question here is, today, why do so many people that I see a lot of times, who say they have a degree and they have a degree in African history? Why do so many people that say they have a degree in African history and they only teach us about Kemet? They never go in to teach you about no other place like the Sand people. They don't go in teaching you about the Sand people, Nigeria, about the Yoruba, and other places like that. They don't really go into none of those cultural histories, the mythos, and the mythology, and the going into the stories about that. They only want to teach us about Kemet all the time. Kemet, and I have nothing against Kemet. Y'all know, hell, I studied the Kemetic science and the doctrine myself. But they never really go into Nubia, talk to us about Nubia, give us the history of Nubia. It's always Kemet. They pushing Kemet down our damn throats all the time. Like I said, I don't have no problem with Kemet, hell, because I study, the Kemetic science myself, like I said again. But as I'm looking at, I read some of these books, like this book, example, it tells you goes into, trying to find a page where I was on earlier, where it goes in talking about the creation myths and this and that. It talks about how even the Sand people try to explain in their mythology how the sun was actually got to be placed out of space. Like here's the thing about it's called The Wonders of Creation. I was reading this chapter here not too long ago, and it was talking about how they, going in, talking about the Yoruba, dealing with the Orishas, and and the whole thing about how the supreme being got on earth. It was talking about at one particular time the different deities and the sand. Let me see here. Here it says the sand contend that the creator was once present in the world, preventing his handiwork, providing his handiwork. Sorry, chopped up often in highly various myths of creation and human origins told by the people of Africa. Like, they was talking about how the supreme being, they looked at the supreme being of the creator at one particular time lived on the planet. Yeah. So, and it's just a lot of stuff here in these different African traditions and mythologies that we got. And a lot of people, man, like, I'm just tripping off of it, because I've listened to this one brother, Jabari, to be on Sonetta TV. He want to make, he always talk about he got a degree in African studies when he was talking to the Hebrew brothers. And he makes sure he always say that I got a degree in, African studies, this and that. There's a lot of other people who say this. But like I said, they don't go into any other culture outside of Kemet, man. I mean, yeah, Kemet. God damn, man. Come on, fam. Can we hear any other stories besides Kemet all the time? I mean, like that's the only place that had history, that have history, great history, that did some great wonders, come up with the different sciences and all of this shit. Man, I'm getting tired of hearing all this shit about Kemet all the time, man. God damn, y'all. Come on, teach anything. Look, we all didn't come from Kemet. It's like, you know, you got the Hebrew Israelite family who might say that we are Hebrews. And I can kind of relate to some of the things they're saying because, hell, some of the you know, the things, the suffering that we went through and oppression that we went through, and how they can use that Bible and say, because there's in Deuteronomy 28 and 68, where it's saying that you should be brought back into Egypt in ships, you know, and I heard them saying that, and hell, look what happened to us. Our family was brought over here through the transatlantic slave trade, so some of that will line up, and we see how what we went through and in slavery here in America. So some of that can line up right in the Zach. So I can relate to some of that when they break that down. But it's just, you know, we just like we're stuck, man, and we want to gravitate to one thing because, yes, it has some great history. Yes, they did great things in Kemet. But goddamn, there's other places did too. So, we know we shouldn't always get stuck. And we know damn well we all didn't come from no damn Kemet. We all didn't come from there. What about Nubia? All the pyramids, we want to always relate to that because, and I'm going to tell y'all something, man. It's like, because the European put so much emphasis on Kemet and Egypt, it seemed like that's the only damn reason that we put emphasis on it. If this bastard if he put more emphasis on saying like China or some goddamn well, or Peru, where they got a lot of pyramids and these great monuments and this other place. If they're putting more emphasis on those places, Valencia with the Olmec heads and stuff, Valencia, Mexico with the Olmec head, if they were putting all of their stress on that in the pyramids there, I believe, goddamn it, we'll be hollering. That's what we'll be putting our emphasis on. But since I just hate to say it though, I don't hate to say it, but I'm just being real. That seems like that's the only reason we do this shit, because they're the ones over there digging, doing all the goddamn translation, telling you, and putting together what's the name, bulges with the Purim Haru and all of this stuff. It seems like that's the only way. I mean, they the one digging and doing all the excavations and shit, man. And you can't even, you know, go over there, the country we claim to rule and we did all the research on and we put together. We're not in control of that shit anymore. We're not even in control of that. It's like, I remember just reading a book that Dr. York got, and now I got to finish getting back into it. He said it's called The Signs of the Pyramid. And he was talking about Nubia in there, because, you know, once time we was calling ourselves Nubians. I don't know whatever happened to that. But he was saying how in Nubia that, you know, there are all those great pyramids and monuments that was in Nubia, but it seemed like that we don't want to, they don't put any stress on Nubia because those people still live there. Those people still live in Nubia. The dark skinned, the black Africans still live in Nubia. So they don't put any stress on the pyramids and the monuments and the greatness of Nubia. Why? Because the Africans still live there. They put a lot of emphasis on Egypt or Kemet because, hell, the so-called people who look like you and I, who say that we are those people, we don't live there anymore. We see these goddamn punk-ass Indo-Europeans, those Turks, and all of these foreign invaders who live there now, and actually made it out of it got Islam in there, not the true religion that was already there, or not the religious or the philosophies or whatever mythos that was in Kemet. So yeah, they are putting emphasis on that. But why they don't put emphasis on the places, or we don't even put emphasis on the places where the black Africans are still at? Those people who look like you and I. We put emphasis on the fucking places that the other invaders, like I said, the Indo-European, the Turks and these damn Arabs. but we don't put emphasis on the places where, and we supposed to be so African descent, but we're not talking about places and teaching about places where the Africans are still there to this very moment. That's something crazy that I just can't figure out. I mean, I'm not trying to figure it out, but it's just something I'm just tripping off in my mind. And we'll say we have a degree in African studies and shit. We'll teach on the places, other places besides that one goddamn place, Africa, or Kemet, I'm sorry. Teach on more than that. Teach on other than that what a fucking European got his ass over there digging up all your ancestors and trying to prove where he actually is trying to claim that where he had stake in. That's my piece, family. I just had that thought right fast and just wanted to share it with you, man. Like I said, this is a great book. Y'all might can check this out, get it. Great book, man. The Voices of the Ancestors, African Myths. It was done by Time Life magazine. I don't know, you probably can get it on Amazon, places like that. It goes into a lot of mythologies and different stories from different parts of Africa, different cultures of Africa, where everybody's trying to tell their creation stories, go to like the different parts of Africa where we all try to tell their creation story, how we got here by the Sand people, by the Yoruba tribes and different places, man. Great book. Without one mindset, one thought, because like I said, we was all in different parts, scattered out abroad in migration. And he talked about the different migrations and stuff like that. Great book. It don't and for a matter of fact, family, y'all know what? This book don't even go and talk about Africa. It don't even have anything about Kemet in here. There's a separate book that goes into about Kemet. And this is African Voices of the Ancestors, African myth, but there's nothing in here talking about the Kemetic mythos in here, or mythology, in this book, particular book right here. Separate book. Peace, fam. Much love. Sun Ray 9.